Well, a protest is happening right now outside this ICE processing center in Broadview. We have heard people chanting as they call for the facility in the western suburb to be shut down. The windows of that building on Beach Street are already boarded up as federal officials confirm a large-scale enforcement campaign will be taking place very soon. Now, this will be a primary processing location for the immigration operation, expected to go on for more than a month once it gets started. Representative Delia Ramirez joining us now. She represents Illinois' 3rd District, and we appreciate you joining us from Washington, D.C. Congresswoman, we've seen, as I've been mentioning all morning, fencing put up around various federal buildings in advance of any possible deployment or agent deployment here or protest. It includes the ICE facility in Broadview, which is expected to become that 24-hour processing center. There's a lot going on, but what is the very latest you can tell us about what you know? Has there been any communication between the executive branch and Congress? And what are your thoughts about what may happen here over the next few days?
Well, Dana, thank you for having me. Let me say to you, as a co-equal branch of government, you would expect that the executive branch would be communicating with Congress at minimum with the Committee on Homeland Security that I serve on. I also serve on the oversight subcommittee of the committee itself. They have not communicated with us directly. What we know is what the governor has mentioned now, that they're preparing to deploy a couple hundred officers to Chicago. However, even just a day ago, the president said in passing that perhaps he doesn't send the National Guard to Chicago, he sends it to New Orleans. And so what we know is that deploying troops, whether it's going through the National Guard today, tomorrow, or even the ICE agents that are being deployed, is really to create a violent spectacle that undermines rule of law. The president wants to see chaos in Chicago and cities like Chicago, whether it's Maryland, DC, LA, or New York, to try to get us to take the bait, to create the kind of circumstances and conditions where people who are protesting peacefully are pushed to the corner, so then he has an excuse to try to deploy the National Guard.
So what can I ask
what
you,
is happening
Congress...
right now, Dana?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, and then I have a question.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say really quickly, kind of along what you were saying, what would you say, though, to people here in the Chicago area, and they do exist, that say, well, we welcome the National Guard even if it helps deter crime?
But let me be very clear. I just got back from D.C. What I heard from people on the ground is they are not feeling any safer. And let me be very clear. A federal judge in California ruled that the Trump administration violated the law when it sent the National Guard to try to do law enforcement. They're not deterring any violence in these communities. They actually legally can't do that.
Right.
All that the National Guard could do is to add on support to ICE enforcement. They're not going to get criminals off the streets. It is not in their purview. It is illegal for them to do that, and they're not trained to do that. What they actually end up doing is coming and standing around, as you've seen in so many of the footage that you've shown, that what they end up feeling like is, I'm standing here, I'm not working, I'm not with my family, and I'm not actually living into any real mission.
So as you were you were moving on to, what might happen here in Chicago over the next few days. I know the weekend full of events celebrating Mexican Independence Day. There's a parade Saturday, and at least 4 in 10 people living in the 7th District identify as Latino. So what would you say to people, though, who might be worried to come out and celebrate? And also, any thoughts on the fact that the El Grito festival was canceled?
First, let me tell you, it's really unfortunate that the El Grito Festival has been canceled for this year. But I have to understand, as the organizers were navigating many tensions, that ultimately our #1 priority is to protect our communities. And so I would say for people that are thinking about going to a festival or all the other things that are happening over the weekend, I don't want people to live in such fear that it paralyzes us. That's what the president wants. I mean, he wants to terrorize us in such a way that we stop protesting. I would say that people should make their individual considerations. If they're going to festivals, don't go by yourself. You've heard the governor and the mayor say this. Make sure that you have a full battery on your phone. And if you see any action that deserves for you to be record it. Also, organizations like ICER are available with a hotline so that if you're seeing any ICE action, if you're seeing families being detained or questioned, make sure you're recording, but also make sure that you are communicating and calling the hotline to ensure that people know what is happening. What we don't want is misinformation, that people think it's ICE or people think it's the National Guard, and perhaps it's something else, or it's local law enforcement. Because what we see right now is people are worried about leaving their home. Parents are worried about dropping off their kids to school. Kids should go to school, and I know that a number of organizations are creating safe passages for parents to feel safe while continuing to do what they do every day.
Okay, Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know we will continue to reach out to you as things progress, if they do, here in the city and also in the suburbs, which I know part of your district as well. So thank you again.
No, thank you, Dana.